Ever feel completely drained after spending time with certain people, no matter how careful you are? Ever wonder why it keeps happening, again and again? The truth is, it's not a coincidence. You don't attract toxic people by accident. Hidden patterns in your mind, habits you've unconsciously formed, and ways you tolerate behavior you shouldn't. All of this draws them in. The more you ignore these patterns, the stronger their grip becomes. Understanding them is the first step to breaking free and reclaiming the energy, peace, and relationships you truly deserve. Let's begin with the first pattern, the one that silently opens the door for toxic people into your life, often without you noticing it at all. Pattern 1. You attract toxic people because you hide your true self. Have you ever noticed that the people who drain your energy, manipulate you, or test your patience always seem to know exactly where to strike? It's not a coincidence. It's a reflection of the parts of yourself you refuse to show. When you hide your true self, your opinions, your desires, your quirks, even your boundaries, you create a gap between who you are and who people think you are. This gap doesn't just confuse others. It invites people who are drawn to control, manipulation, or domination. They sense the silence, the hesitation, the fear of being fully seen, and they exploit it. Think about it. If you never assert your needs, you attract those who ignore them. If you downplay your emotions, you attract those who dismiss or manipulate them. If you hide your opinions, you attract those who try to dictate yours. Nietzsche warned us about living in disguise. The individual has always had to struggle to keep from being overwhelmed by the tribe. When you hide yourself to fit in, you lose control over your own life. You start attracting people who thrive on your concealment, feeding off the version of you that doesn't exist, a version you've created to avoid conflict, rejection, or discomfort. The key to breaking this pattern isn't confrontation or aggression, it's authenticity. Speak your truth, even when it shakes the room. Set boundaries, even if others test them. Show your quirks, desires, and flaws, without apology. When you finally embrace yourself fully, the magnetic pull of toxic people fades. They no longer find entry points into your life, because you are no longer hiding. And paradoxically, the world around you begins to change. The people who remain are those who respect, value, and resonate with your true energy. Pattern 2. You seek approval at the cost of your boundaries. Many of us grew up learning that love, friendship, or acceptance must be earned. We bend, adapt, and compromise, sometimes too much, just to be liked. But here's the danger. When your sense of worth depends on others' approval, you become a magnet for those who take advantage of it. Toxic people sense it immediately. They know you'll tolerate disrespect, manipulation, or lies just to keep the peace. Nietzsche said, "He who cannot obey himself will be commanded." That is the nature of living creatures. In other words, if you can't honor your own values and needs, the world will teach you the lesson, often painfully, through people who disregard them. Setting boundaries isn't selfish, it's a declaration of self-respect. When you value yourself more than others' approval, toxic patterns lose their power over you. You no longer chase validation. Instead, you attract people who respect your energy and integrity. Pattern 3. You confuse drama with passion. Many of us believe that relationships must feel intense to feel real. Arguments, jealousy, constant ups and downs, these are often mistaken for passion or true love. We chase emotional peaks because they make us feel alive, even if the cost is stress, anxiety, or heartbreak. But here's the hidden truth. The drama you're drawn to is often a reflection of unresolved patterns inside yourself. If you ignore your own emotional needs, your boredom, your restlessness, your longing for excitement, you unconsciously create situations that replicate these feelings. Toxic people, with their unpredictability and emotional swings, act as a mirror, showing you the turbulence you carry but refuse to confront. Think of it this way. If you feel empty or numb inside, the outside world will seem dull. You may unconsciously seek people who shake you, who force strong reactions, simply to feel something. This is why you might attract partners who are unstable, manipulative, or emotionally inconsistent. Their chaos awakens the intensity that's missing inside you. Nietzsche offers insight here, even if indirectly. Invisible threads are the strongest ties. The bonds that pull us into toxic relationships are not just external. They are woven from our own hidden fears, desires, and unmet emotional needs. It's not that toxic people are inherently drawn to us. It's that we are drawn to recreate our internal storms externally. Breaking this pattern requires a shift in focus. Instead of seeking passion in others, cultivate it within yourself. Explore what truly excites you, what makes you feel alive, and what fulfills your emotional hunger. Meditation, creative work, physical challenges, or deep personal reflection are ways to generate authentic intensity internally. When you begin to experience life fully from within, the allure of chaotic, toxic relationships diminishes. You no longer need someone else to stir your emotions for you, and you attract people who complement your energy, rather than destabilize it. Pattern 4. You fear being alone, so you settle. Many people attract toxicity because they fear being alone more than they fear being mistreated. This isn't limited to romantic relationships. Friendships, colleagues, or even social circles can be filled with people who drain your energy if you haven't learned to value your own company. Think about it. If you're uncomfortable being alone, or if silence feels unbearable, you unconsciously look for someone to fill that void. Toxic friends or acquaintances often exploit this need. They offer attention, drama, or temporary validation, keeping you engaged just long enough to prevent you from seeking healthier connections. Nietzsche once wrote, "He who has a why to live can bear almost any how." Here, your why must be internal. If your sense of purpose and fulfillment depends on the presence or approval of others, you become vulnerable to manipulation and emotional drain, whether from friends, partners, or coworkers. Fear of loneliness doesn't just lead you to settle for toxic relationships, it blinds you to red flags. You may tolerate gossiping friends, controlling colleagues, or manipulative partners simply because being alone feels worse than being around people who harm or exploit you. The solution? Embrace solitude as a tool for clarity and self-respect. True connection, whether in friendship, romance, or work, comes when you are complete on your own. When you are grounded in your own worth, you no longer attract or tolerate toxicity. Instead, you naturally draw relationships that are supportive, respectful, and mutually nourishing. Pattern 5. You try to save people who don't want to be saved. There's a certain kind of person who always finds themselves surrounded by chaos. Not because they seek it, but because they feel responsible for fixing it. They see someone struggling, broken, or emotionally unstable and think, maybe I can help. Maybe I can heal them. This desire often comes from compassion. But when it's rooted in a need to be needed, it becomes a trap. Toxic people sense this energy. They are drawn to those who give endlessly, who mistake self-sacrifice for love, and who believe that saving others will somehow prove their own worth. Nietzsche warned against this illusion of moral heroism. He wrote, "Beware that, when fighting monsters, you yourself do not become a monster. When you make someone else's healing your mission, you begin to lose yourself. You take responsibility for pain that isn't yours to carry. You excuse mistreatment because you see potential. You stay longer than you should because you hope your love will change them. But the truth is, you cannot heal someone who refuses to face their own darkness. You can guide, you can inspire, but you cannot walk their path for them. Every moment spent trying to save someone who doesn't want to be saved is a moment stolen from your own growth." This pattern doesn't just exist in romantic relationships, it shows up in friendships too. You may find yourself constantly comforting, advising, or rescuing people who never truly change. These dynamics drain your energy and leave you feeling empty, because they're built on imbalance, not connection. The lesson here is to shift from saving to supporting. You can care deeply without losing yourself. When you recognize that everyone is responsible for their own transformation, you stop attracting those who only take. You begin to attract people who walk beside you, not those who need to be carried. Pattern 6. Deep down, you don't believe you deserve better. One of the most silent but powerful reasons you attract toxic people is this. Deep down, you don't truly believe you deserve peace, respect, or healthy love. Maybe you grew up being criticized, ignored, or made to feel that affection had to be earned. Maybe the idea of unconditional love feels unfamiliar, almost uncomfortable. So when someone treats you poorly, it feels strangely normal. And when someone treats you kindly, it feels suspicious. This is how the mind plays its cruelest tricks. It seeks what's familiar, not what's healthy. You don't consciously choose toxicity. It's simply what feels like home to your nervous system. Nietzsche once wrote, "We are what we repeatedly do." And if you repeatedly accept disrespect, neglect, or emotional chaos, you start to believe that's all you're worth. The world begins to mirror your internal beliefs. People treat you at the level you treat yourself. This pattern shows up not only in love, but in friendships, work, and family. You tolerate being undervalued, overlooked, or taken advantage of because a part of you still doubts your own worth. The healing begins when you question that story. Ask yourself, what if I've been wrong about what I deserve? Start with small acts of self-respect, saying no when you mean no, resting without guilt, walking away from those who constantly take but never give. The more you embody self-worth, the less space you have for toxicity. And here's the paradox. When you finally believe you deserve better, the universe stops sending you people who test that belief. Instead, it sends those who reflect it back to you. Pattern 7. You recreate the pain you never healed from. Sometimes the people you attract aren't random at all. They are echoes of your past. They carry the same emotional tone, the same wounds, the same dynamics you once lived through. It's not a coincidence. It's repetition. Psychologists call this the repetition compulsion, the unconscious drive to relive old pain, hoping that this time the ending will be different. If you were once ignored, you might seek validation from people who withhold affection. If you were controlled, you might find yourself with partners or friends who dominate you. If you grew up needing to earn love, you might repeatedly give too much, hoping that one day someone will finally give it back. Nietzsche wrote, "No one can build you the bridge on which you must cross the river of life, no one but yourself." And this is exactly what these repeating patterns try to teach you. No one else can fix what you refuse to face within. You can attract new faces, new stories, even new countries, but the same lesson will follow you until it's learned. Every toxic connection is a messenger, not a curse. It's life's way of saying, here's the wound you still carry. Do you see it now? Healing begins the moment you stop trying to rewrite the past through other people. You realize that closure doesn't come from changing them. It comes from transforming the part of you that keeps seeking familiar pain. When you finally break the cycle, your energy shifts. You stop looking for love that hurts and start attracting peace that feels unfamiliar at first, but real. Pattern 8. You become what you choose to see. Once you begin to recognize these patterns, denial, seeking approval, confusing drama with love, fearing solitude, trying to save others, doubting your worth, repeating old wounds, something shifts inside you. You stop asking, why do I attract toxic people? And you start asking, what in me still resonates with them? This question changes everything, because awareness is liberation. The moment you see the pattern, you are no longer trapped by it. You begin to act from choice, not from habit. Nietzsche wrote, "He who has a why to live can bear almost any how." When your why is to evolve, to live with truth, self-respect, and inner strength, you no longer attract chaos disguised as love. You outgrow it. Freedom doesn't come from avoiding darkness. It comes from walking through it consciously. The people who once drained you become your greatest teachers, mirrors that helped you awaken. And in that awakening you realize something profound. You were never cursed for attracting toxic people. You were being called to meet yourself. In the end, the world reflects not what you want, but who you are. Every toxic connection, every painful lesson was never about punishment. It was an invitation to awaken, to see yourself clearly, to stop searching for love in the places that hurt, and to return home, to the quiet power that's been within you all along. When you change what you tolerate, you change what you attract. And when you learn to see yourself with honesty and compassion, you stop repeating the old story. That's when life shifts, not because the world became kinder, but because you did. Ask yourself, which pattern are you ready to face today? Which truth about yourself have you been hiding, ignoring, or fearing? Take one small step. Speak it. Set a boundary, embrace your solitude, or honor your worth. Share this insight with someone who needs it. The journey to attract healthier, more authentic connections begins with you. Own your energy, transform your patterns, and watch your world change, because when you change, everything changes with you.